So I need the backing plate. Up there in the back of the dashboard is a black plate that goes in there, and it's got a hole in it, and that hole is for the spigot on the end of these genuine radios. They've got this little bung thing. It's actually a stud, and that goes in the back, supports it, because this thing weighs about 5 kilos. So I need one of those, and I was expecting to buy one. However, I've just been on LR Workshop, aka my website, and found the part number. This is the photos I uploaded in June 2021. I put a comment on there about this very point, and that was about when I sold one. However, it says I've got one in stock. Anyone can add stock on a website. You just add stock on here. But I basically use it because I buy stuff and I forget what I've bought. So I come over to the stock here and it says updated September 2024. So apparently I've got one in stock that I can use there, and I don't need to go and buy one. So I think I should go and have a route around. So I've got a box in the garage, dash stuff. Ah, lo and behold, the website does not lie. So that was good, finding that saved me about 40 to 80 quid. What I also have are these two beauties, a bit of memorabilia. They're from the same fleet that my Armenia Defender was in. You see they've got the similar kind of buttons. These are completely trashed. These are from 2 vehicles that were written off, so they have no owners. What's interesting I've just seen on this one, I've been going through a big process at the moment with Defender 3, trying to find out what the right screws are. I've got all the screws from several TD5 dashboards. My Defender 1, 97 Defender, has got a TD5 dash conversion in it, which I've made videos about before. That's basically 3 dashboards merged into one. And I've got a lot of leftover screws from that process. I'm trying to document it all at the moment. I've been trying to do it for a few years, but now with the new diagrams on LR Workshop, it's going to get a lot better because the official diagrams are appalling, right? So this screw, for example, there's one of these in the dashboard, and it's not documented anywhere. So, I've been trying to get the information together, matching basically part numbers to screws. And it's quite tricky because a lot of the part numbers on the diagrams are actually wrong. The part number doesn't match the screw that came out. Anyway, so what I love about this is that this one's actually still got dash screw in here. So I had a bit of a conundrum when I was fitting my Defender 1 dashboard retrofitted, because you've got to figure out from a box of screws which screws are which. So that's really good to know that is that one. Because there's all sorts of, you get long screws like this one. Should it be that one? Should it be this one? This is the one that goes through the side from the heater controls. But that's good to know, so I can match them up. And that's this one. So I know that these two are used for these 2 holes down here. Anyway, I can document that on the website now. Anyway, what I found interesting is these numbers. They've both got numbers on, and I've seen numbers on these before, and my, Armenia Defender's got numbers on as well. I've actually got another one of these I've got as a spare, basically. A good one as a spare. It's a nice one, not been drilled. And that has got a number. You see that? It's not the same, it's not paint, it's like permanent marker. That one says 10. So they've all got a number on. There must be a number on it for a reason. So let's go and have a sit down and I'll tell you what my theory is. The epiphany came when I took this one off. So the number on this one matches the last 2 digits of the VIN. I've only looked at these two. I've got the VINs for this fleet, and around the era, so these both came from 2002 Defenders, and there were 2002 Defenders in that fleet with the last 2 digits being 41 and 78, and they were scrapped. And I can cross-check, so I also went routing through, there was a whole load of bulkheads, and I got these from the bulkheads that were left routed around, and I cross-checked, and actually one of the VINs was the one I was expecting here. So why would you put the last 2 digits of a VIN number on this center console? Why would you do that? This is my theory, right? So these consoles are actually a key part of the spec of a Defender. So not only does basically this swaps around depending if it's left-hand drive or right-hand drive. So on left-hand drive, so you've always got the fog light closest to you, heated rear window. The wipers are on the other side, so it's different left and right. So you need to know if it's left or right-hand drive. But also, you've got electric windows and you've got heated seats, and you've got headlight leveling, and potentially a front spotlights potentially, or heated front window is what the other switches are. So you need to match the switches to the spec of the vehicle, really. And you're assembling, the dashboard would have been assembled on a separate production line on the bulkhead. But I imagine there's one person in charge of assembling these. They will get a list of vehicles or specs they need to create, or they'll get a spec sheet and they'll need to build this up for the spec. So why would you write the number on it? Because you've got the spec sheet, and then presumably when you build this up, you say, oh, you match up the spec with what the vehicle is for the person assembling the dashboard on the bulkhead, and you take one off and you say, well, I need a electric windows and heated seats one that's left-hand drive, and you go, that one, and you put it on. Thinking from a process perspective, a lot of my career I've had to design a lot of processes, and they say no plan survives contact with the enemy. Well, no process survives contact with its users in its first instance. A lot of people think of a process being a linear process, a linear kind of timeline, but in many cases there's this thing has to wait, you have to circle back, you need more information. Processes tend to be a lot more circular. So I can imagine that, you really don't want to get the wrong one of these on the wrong vehicle. So the person building these up knows the spec of it because they've just built it, and presumably they would build them somewhat in sequence, so you could build one, then one and one, and put them all in a trolley, and then you wheel that trolley over, and the person on the production line or building up the dashboard would take the next one off, stick it on. So why would you write the number on? I guess you can see when you would design processes, you can see the failure point of that. Meaning, what if someone put it out of order? What if they were distracted and they put the wrong one in? And you don't want people just blindly taking stuff in order from a trolley to fit it onto the dashboard. This, I think, is a way of verifying they know the spec of the vehicle they're building the dashboard for. They know the VIN number it should be. For speed, they don't want to be reading the entire spec and trying to pick from the spec of a whole bunch of these all stacked in a row. They're probably like this. So how are they going to know which one to pick? They'll choose the next one. They know they're building vehicle 78. They pick it up, 78, done. If that doesn't say 78, then they may go, where's 78? So I think there's two things there. I think one is, for speed, they will be probably assuming that it's the next one in the line, but you don't want people just blindly slamming parts onto a vehicle. You also want them to verify. So my assumption is there's a clever part of the process there. The person upstream, all they've got to do is just write on the last two digits in a number. The person downstream can verify and make sure that fits. Having that pen, being able to scribble that on, and it takes 3-4 seconds, probably saves a lot of time, because if production lines get expensive, if you're never going to stop the production line, but if you've got a problem here and it's only found at the dealership, that's a customer problem. That's a lot more expensive. So for the sake of that, I think you probably you've solved a problem there in a very general way. So you've got not just the process in terms of how you deliver these to the person building the bulkhead up, but you've also got a way for each step in the process to verify that things are going as expected and to problem solve along the way. That's my suspicion. I think that's a very clever process. And why would you write just two numbers? Well, Defenders would build up to maximum 125 a day, probably closer to under 100 a day. So you only need the last two to be able to uniquely identify each vehicle coming along. So a little bit of a tidbit there. I've never really figured that out until I've never had a dashboard off that's actually came from the vehicle it's from. I've been, as you can see, I've got lots of bits and pieces, and there's 3 dashboards went into building my dashboard on my 97 Defender. So I've never really paid much attention to that before. But yeah, go and rush out, rip your dashboard apart and see if the number matches your VIN and let me know. But that's my assumption anyway. I don't know that for certain. I'm just found that quite curious. These little things you pick out from having ripped apart a factory Defender, which to me is a luxury. I don't get to look at factory original Defenders that often. The other interesting thing here, little sticker on this. This is 2004. This one, Magna Kansai, so they the OEM manufacturer up in the northeast, I think, of England. They were the original. They were the manufacturers of this. They make a lot of body panels. There's a guy on one of the Defender forums who used to work there, and they made a lot of Grenadier panels as well. Anyway, a little bit of tidbit there. Bit of a theory, but yeah, all triggered from the fact that somebody didn't put that panel back in at some point. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.